It's from Old Staples Crafts again, and welcome back to another of our 12 tags of Christmas. Today we're making this tag. It's a fairly straightforward tag. It's got a bit of embossing and then a bit of punching. And this time we're using the craft cardstock and the Jar of Cheer stamp set. I'm hoping this is still available when we get to put this up on the blog and on YouTube. Things are selling fast, but I have checked and everything's available as of when I'm recording this, but as this is closeout time, fingers crossed. So what do we need? Let's pop that to one side for the moment. We are using a piece of the craft cardstock at 2 inches by 4 1/4 inches. That's 5 by 10 1/2. Don't worry about writing this down. It will all be on the blog post. Very vanilla. 1 3/4 by 3 1/4. So that's 4 1/2 by 8 centimeters. And then a scrap just to do some punching, some stamping and some punching. So let's get started. We are starting with what I think you're going to realise is one of my favourite punches, which is the scallop tag topper punch. Just a shame I can't say it properly. So cardstock in up to the end, straight down and punch, and there we are. Nice and easy. Then the Project Life corner rounder, and actually it's worth just reminding you these punches all go flat. There's a little button here which opens them up, and the same on the scallop punch. You could just close it down and there it's nice and flat, which is great for storage. I actually store all my punches in a drawer on their noses, so I can see what's the which punch it is. But if you're stacking them, the same thing applies. So, as ever, I'm doing this so that I can see where my corner is, to make sure that we've got that nicely positioned, which we have. And then whilst we've got the corner rounder out, this is the 1 3/4 by 3 1/4, 4 1/2 by 8 centimeter piece. So we'll round those corners as well. Ooh. So we're going to round all of those corners. So that's that. Don't need that anymore. So I'm going to bring in my piercing mat and embossing buddy, because we are going to do some stamping and heat embossing, and it does help to cut down on the amount of overspill that we've got on the embossing powder. So we're using the Wishing You a Season of Cheer stamp, and I've actually, it looks when you let's bring this back in. On here it looks as if it's at an angle. Well, it is at an angle. I've actually lined it up on my blocks so that it's straight. It's personal choice, but for this project I wanted it reasonably straight. And this is the Ever Universal C block. So Versamark ink, and just make sure that's well inked. Pop the lid back on so that we don't get embossing powder all over that. And then roughly in the centre, and because I've lined this up so that the words should be straight, I'm lining up the edge of my block so that it's in line with the edge of the tag. So down, give it a good press, and because we're on the piercing mat and these are photopolymer stamps, it gives should give a good impression. Not that you can see anything obviously at the moment. It is there, I can assure you. So bring in our gold embossing powder, and I keep mine in a pot. I have fewer disasters with it if I keep it in a pot. Just to put lots of embossing powder over the top, because any excess just tap off. And there you are. You can see that there must have been some ink there because it's attached. let's just pop that over there, and we'll bring in the heat tool. So apologies if this starts getting noisy. Heat it up first. Oh, and don't do what I've just done, which is pop my finger right in the middle of the tag. Right, so I've got a cloth here. I'm just going to do a quick rescue mission on this, which is wipe that off. So that's been wiped off, and just turn it over, bring in the embossing budgie again. See, we all make mistakes, and I think it's useful occasionally to see that we are none of us perfect. So Versamark ink, we'll try this again. Pop that away. Straight down and up. Bring back in the embossing powder. And this time let's pop that there so I have some hope of not putting my finger in it. Get rid of that. Don't need the stamp. So, as I was saying, heat up your heat tool. So this is on number 2 setting. And once you're fairly confident it's warm, over your embossing powder, and you're about an inch and a half away, and keep moving it round. If you don't move it round, you will burn the embossing powder and it will go matte. So just wait for it to go glossy and then move on. And then stop that rather interesting noise. And you can see I don't know if you can tell actually, there is a lot of heat because the grid paper here has now warped. So to make sure that that's fully dry, to make sure that this is stuck down properly, because it is a little bit warped, not too badly, we're going to use fast fuse on the back. If you don't use the embossing and you just stamp, then you can use snail, because we're only sticking card to card, so it's not. I'll do it so that I can see the top of the tag. We want it so that it's not quite up the top, and ideally so that it's evenly spaced and straight. And there we are. And then we will do the last bit of stamping, and this is using the little Hard Rock Candy stamp, which is actually really pretty. It's got it's been cut so that it's got a space which makes it look 3D and makes it look as if it's shining, which is, I think, it's really pretty. So Real Red Classic ink. So foam pad. So tap tap tap, and then straight up and down. Should probably be using the piercing mat, but I've used these stamps a number of times and they're stamping really well. So there we are. As you can see, that stamps really well. As I say, if you find that they're not stamping well, definitely use the piercing mat, and that will help. Then we need our our half-inch circle punch, and again, open that up and line that up. Now these do tend to fly. I think because they're smaller, they're a little more aerodynamic, and I have been chasing them around my study. There we are, 3 of those. Pop that away. Then dimensionals, which I know are on my desk because I saw them just now. There we are. I very carefully put everything out and then very carefully put something down on top. So let's turn those over because we want a dimensional on the back of each of those. And make sure they're properly stuck. And then peel off the backing. And as I mentioned, you've got this highlight. Let's see if the autofocus will play. Hopefully you can see that there is that little highlight. Let's allow it to position itself again. Now I've been putting them so that the highlight is at the bottom. And I like threes. Odd numbers are good. The eye seems to prefer odd numbers to even numbers. So I'm putting one at the top, and then with the highlight on the same side, just pop those down. And then we just need some of the natural trim. This is with the gold running through it. Because we're working in very vanilla, it's a really good colour to go with it. Just cut that, and then, as ever, I'm coming through from the back and up and over, and there we are, all finished. I hope you enjoyed that. Fairly quick and easy project again. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, subscribe. The link to the associated blog post will be in the YouTube description below. There's a link to my shop also below on YouTube, and the list of items I've used is on the associated blog post, and you can click straight on there and go over to the store. If you need the measurements, then again they're on the blog post. I hope you've enjoyed that project. I look forward to seeing you again. I can't talk this morning. I look forward to seeing you again very shortly, and I hope you have a fabulous day. Thanks a lot.